Hello, and welcome to Required Reading, the podcast that revisits the most impactful books from our childhood. I'm your host, Erin Bowles. I am a writer, actor, and comedian. And our guest today is Josh Corey. Josh is a comedy writer and fledgling podcaster. His credits include Haunted Hotel, DMV, Speechless, and Welcome to Flatch, which is how we know each other. Josh was raised on a used car lot in upstate New York, where he learned to drive at 13 and has been crashing cars ever since. His work explores themes of family separation and masculinity, the two funniest themes, and his new podcast, From Writer to Fighter, is the true story of Josh's attempt to fight a real boxing match at age 37 with a lot of heart and very little athletic ability. Hello!
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for that lovely intro.
Oh, you wrote it, man.
I was really referring to the sweetness in your, it was just a lot of enthusiasm that really made me feel good.
Oh, I'm glad. I liked your thing about fighting with a lot of heart and a little ability. That's how I described my 11 years of piano lessons growing up.
Yes.
A lot of soul.
Well, I'm a bit of a Rudy in that I try hard and I've never had the goods, but I don't stop trying. I'll say that. I'm so glad to see you. It's been a while. You know, we used to work together on Welcome to Flatch. And you know, the first episode of my podcast has a little clip from Welcome to Flatch, although it didn't feature the little line that you had in that scene, which I love. I'll just set it up that I talk about how my love of boxing is bleeding into my work, and then I play a little clip that was like an outdoor rumble from an episode of Welcome to Flatch that I wrote, and you can hear Holmes and Sam talking about fighting each other. And then there is a line that's not in the podcast but is in the show where Aaron says, "I just want to see a good fight and some blood."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I believe you improv that at the table read and we put it in the script.
I improv'd Also Blood.
Also Blood, that's right.
Yeah.
Also Blood.
I was so, because that whole show was my first acting job, and I don't remember any of the first season. I was so, like, nervous and scared that everyone would be like, this girl really isn't an actor. What are we doing here? But there was one point where I improv'd in the table read, and I was like, okay, it's legal. I can do it once, and it'll be fun. And I felt really, I was so tickled to hear that in the first episode. That's one of my favorite episodes that we ever made. It was so cute.
It's a fabulous show that only got 2 seasons. It's a dang travesty. But, you know, Jenny Bix is still out there. I understand she's been on the show, and she'll be making more shows for you soon.
Yeah, we've had Jenny and Paul and Taylor and...
Oh, fantastic. All the best. I'm inferior to all of those, but I hope I don't disappoint.
Well, none of them have put me in their podcast. So,
there we go. Okay.
At our book today from 1965 by Beverly Cleary, The Mouse and the Motorcycle.
I've got it right here. I'm clutching my little Bible.
I love it.
The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. Look at this. Is clearly an updated cover.
Yes.
It's more modern illustration that doesn't match the illustrations inside, but that's our book today.
Yeah, Mouse and the Motorcycle follows Ralph, a little mouse, living in a hotel who discovers a boy who has a little toy motorcycle, and they form an unlikely bond, and he can ride this motorcycle purely with the ability to make motorcycle sounds with his mouth, and it's delightful.
I have to say I had to go back and read that part a couple of times where I'm like, how is this motorcycle actually being propelled? And it's like, oh, the power of imagination, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like Peter Pan, you will it to be. Very much.
And then he's flying, which we'll get into all that. Yeah, what's my story with this book?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so I have to first confess that I'm a poor reader. I just don't read that quickly because my comprehension, I have, of course, ADD like anybody else, but like virtually the whole world. But I also like, because I'm a writer, I'll sort of like slow down and go like back over a passage and be like, interesting how she chose to phrase it this way, and there's no comma here. And then I'll just forget where I was, and I'll have to start the chapter over. So anyway, I partly selected this because it's probably a second grade reading level, or like probably second, third grade reading level, and it's sort of short. So I knew I could manage it in the time I needed. But My story with this is I think it was in Mrs. Papa's class in second grade. And this was the book we were reading at would be recess when it was raining out. So she would like gather all the kids, they would sit cross legged on the carpet, which back then was Indian style.
Oh, by my time it was crisscross
It
applesauce.
was okay.
They
That's how
worked
much
on it.
older I am. They worked on it. They corrected themselves. So she would read the book aloud. So I didn't really actually look at the words. I was listening. I was listening to the book being read, and I just remember the images being so strong. And I remember it kind of being a break from school because at that time I did not want to go to school. I was a
Yeah.
little tiny thumb of a boy, and I was faking illness all the time. I was
Oh,
like trying to pretend that I was throwing up, and my mom never buying it because I was just, I don't know, I was scared. I was scared of like the music teacher for some reason. Mrs. Oatman was her name, and I thought
oh,
that she was harsh. So I had to skip out on school a lot. It was a good reprieve from those days when I was afraid of all adults, apparently, was the
yeah.
mouse and the motorcycle.
Oh, man, my music teacher was Mr. Furry. Clear on the other end of that
Mr.
spectrum.
Furry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I had a music teacher a little later whose name was Judd Spina, and I played the saxophone, and he accused me of not practicing. But it wasn't true. I was practicing really hard. I was just so bad at the saxophone. He was like, "Josh, you got to get to it. I'm not buying these, you had to fill out practice reports and then have
Oh,
like your mom sign it and then bring it in. It's like, oh, Josh practiced these hours on these days. And he was like, I'm simply not buying it. I'm not hearing it in the saxophone. So why are you lying about practicing?
oh
And I
my
was like, Mr.
God.
Spina, I swear I am. I swear I'm just talentless.
Oh man, I love that. That's how I was with piano. And I played flute briefly, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
Don't take this the wrong way. You seem like a flute girl. You seem like somebody who played the flute.
Gosh, that deserved to be in Flatch. Oh my goodness.
I think we probably did talk about that. Sorry, my cat.
That's
Oh,
okay.
my cat's ornery today. Sorry.
I love it.
She's 20 years
Oh,
old.
goodness, girl.
She's a beautiful girl. I wish they'd encountered, maybe it was too on the nose. They didn't really encounter a cat in this book. A dog was the problem, but not a cat.
Yes. It's a motel. Everyone is visiting for like 4th of July weekend. I guess people didn't really travel with their cats in the 60s.
That's true, but they did travel with their dogs.
With
So,
a
I mean,
little
that's
Yorkie. Yeah.
with a little Yorkie. I mean, let's jump into it.
Yeah.
It's what's confusing in this book is who can hear Ralph's voice? Ralph is the name of the mouse. So who can understand his words and who cannot? So the boy can. He's what, 8 or something? I
Something like
guess
that,
I
yeah.
can't tell. Okay, so the boy can understand it, and they're speaking English back and forth. The dog can understand his words, but the dog's owner cannot. The child's parents can't understand his words. However, there's like two 20 something girlfriends or something who are staying in a hotel, and they trap him under a glass and they can understand his words. And I'm
I
like, where
forgot
is the
that.
line? Where is the line when you can
Yeah.
is it like you have to have a certain level of imagination to hear the mouse speak? I
I don't
wonder.
know. And there's a groundskeeper type of guy. His name is
That's right.
Matt, and he
That's
can
right.
hear it.
And he's like 60. He's been there the whole time. So it's not age, it's like a certain magic. That's why I was thinking it's like imagination and or
Yeah.
being a fellow animal.
Yeah, Cleary is one of the most successful American authors of all time. Not even children's authors, just American authors. She is one of the most like influential children's authors of all
Mm.
time in terms of how she tells this story, the simplicity of it, the emotional nuance and intelligence. And I looked into her biography. First off, lived to 104.
Wow. Wow. Jeez.
Woman was born in 1916, died 2021.
My word.
This girl lived through 2 pandemics.
Yeah, she did. That's who you want to interview for your like World War II paper. Damn.
Exactly. Yeah. She also struggled when she was really young with reading because
Mhm.
none of these characters or stories were ordinary. These were not
Mm,
relatable people. And so she
mm.
wanted, I mean, this woman, she did the whole Ramona and Beezus series. She's the realism even with this with a mouse is still very real. Like the emotions are
Yes.
really clear and surprising and tangible. Keith is like
Yeah.
Keith is the little boy, very forgiving. But yeah, she also she worked odd jobs in college before she ended up becoming a children's librarian. Was her
Mm.
job before she became a full-time author. And one of the miscellaneous jobs was she was a maid. So I thought that kind of
Ah.
maybe informed this a little bit, which was nice.
Yeah. I mean, same. I've worked all kinds of odd jobs that inform my work, so I get it.
Yeah. I'm a
We
nanny
have.
right now. Yeah.
Are you? Are you a
Yeah.
nanny right now? That's fun.
Yeah.
Darcy Carden was a nanny.
Oh, I
Did you
didn't
know
know
that?
that. I
She
didn't.
was she was Bill Hader's nanny. It's true. And then he
Incredible.
got her some auditions, and now she's a star.
Damn. But I love this person of Beverly Cleary. 91
Yeah.
million books sold.
Wow.
She's from the Portland, Oregon area, and there is a school named after her that's like K through 8, which sounds so perfect.
When I think the first thing I think of with Beverly Cleary is in DMV, Molly Carney, who's a wonderful actor. Her character named Barbara Jason Barry. When she would exclaim, she would say like strange things. So in
Mm-hmm.
this one episode, she goes Beverly Cleary,
Oh,
and,
good.
and I was like, oh yeah, that actually made me think of the mouse and the motorcycle. So maybe that's why I was drawn to it because
Oh,
we wrote that line for
wonderful.
her.
Did you ever know of a program called Dear Drop Everything and Read Day?
That sounds familiar. In my day, it was Get Caught Reading. Does that sound familiar to
Oh,
you?
no, but I like
Okay.
it.
Yeah, it was like it's very weird. Instead of like when you're coming of age, like instead of get caught masturbating, get caught reading. Um, but like a cleaner version
Yeah,
for
yeah.
parents. But we had like if you read a book, you got like some sort of star on a pin. Does that sound
Mm,
right? And then if you got enough stars, you would get a free personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut.
that
Is that what
sounds
this is?
familiar.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Drop Everything and Read is like a day for silent reading, like independent reading. But when the National
Oh.
Library Association, I think it's National Library Association, announced it, they picked Beverly Cleary's birthday to
Ah,
be the
perfect.
day. April 12th. Yeah. Love
Drop
it.
everything and read. I feel like maybe that was like a day off for us. Like
Mm,
that's how I remember that. Maybe I'm confusing that with the Scholastic Book Fair, which is also a huge event in elementary school. Come on.
yeah. There's an elementary school near us, and we drove past it on like the little electric board. They said Scholastic
Hmm.
Book Fair this week, and we're both like,
So
"Let us in!
exciting.
Let me in!"
God. You ever have the librarian with the cart who would come from classroom to classroom with the
No, that sounds
books?
like prison.
Yeah. Well, it was. It was first grade and kindergarten. Maybe it was just like we had like parts of our school that were under construction or something, and
Oh
maybe that was the
yeah.
library at some point. But we had librarians like bring a cart full of books into the classroom, and it was almost like the traveling salesman.
Oh
But they would show you all their wares, which were just books with cool pictures. And I remember that so fondly. We had two librarians in elementary school. One was named Mrs. Bonner, and one was named Mrs. Boner.
no.
It's true. It's true. No relation, but you can imagine. Poor Mrs. Boner
Oh
was
no.
destroyed. Destroyed. I feel like in any other school, if you have Mrs. Bonner, she becomes Mrs. Boner. But because you had both of them, Mrs. Bonner was spared. She was
Safe.
she was the normal one.
Oh man, I went to three elementary schools, and the third one had all of like the good names. There was Mr.
Mm.
Furry, and our librarian there was Miss Mittens.
Oh, Miss Mittens.
Perfect, like, elementary school librarian name. Perfect.
That can't be real.
I
What,
know.
Miss Mittens? Married to Bob Mittens. Cool.
And this book comes out in 1965, which is surprising to me that this is the year of the Selma to Montgomery civil rights marches and the first spacewalk and Medicare and Medicaid and the Voting Rights Act, Charlie Brown Christmas. And the maple leaf flag of Canada. They get the one we know now, maple leaf flag.
You know, this book, some of the language,
Yes.
you're like, my word. Like, well,
Yeah.
that's an example of it. My word. It's very old fashioned. The thing that's dated most in the story is they desperately need an aspirin for the boy. At one point, the boy has a fever, and they're like, we must have an aspirin. It's like, well, there must be a bellman downstairs. And it's like, well, no, he's off. And then it's like, did anyone leave the key to the gift shop where you might fetch an aspirin there? And then it's like, well, I'll phone the doctor. And it's like, the doctor lives 25 miles away. We've nothing. All we can do is wait through the night and hope his fever breaks, or presumably he dies.
Yes,
Like,
or it gets worse. Yeah.
or it gets worse. Ralph ends up finding an aspirin underneath the dusty dresser of 3 college boys who are like clearly partying because one's like passed out in a sleeping bag on the floor. So odd. It's just so funny that an aspirin is the antidote and there's no way to get to one before morning, before daybreak.
And instead of the parents like going to every room and asking for an aspirin,
True, yeah.
It's like the big climax of the book is that Ralph is like, I'm indebted to Keith, and I lost Keith's motorcycle, which is actually nice that like Ralph can save the day without the motorcycle. It's a very like Wizard of Oz, you had the power all along kind of bit, and he goes through this crazy series of events to get this little boy this aspirin. He has to go to the ground floor. He's very treacherous. I really enjoyed this book, and it was nice how breezy it was.
Yeah, it's simple. Yeah.
Yes, and the language is simple, but there's a lot of meat there emotionally and
coming of age for a boy as well as a mouse. More so for the mouse.
Definitely. I liked how much the emotions were not buried. It's very like Ralph now senses responsibility for his family, and the responsibility has made him a hero, and being a hero feels good. And all of these things are very readable and understandable for kids.
Yeah, I think the thing that people probably grasp is there's this refrain of like, you're not old enough, or like, why can't you take care of your things, you know, which is like, I'd probably more so in the 60s, but something you heard a lot as a boy. It's like, you're not old enough to go to the store alone or whatever it is. And Ralph is desperate to like be independent, basically. Like he wants to go to the ground floor and see the world on his own. And that's his arc. That's his trajectory. I wanted to say in this, you were talking about how he doesn't need the motorcycle to go save the day. However, this is the writer in me. She sets up in the very beginning that he has a motorcycle, a sports car, and an ambulance. Now, what do you think he takes for the task of going to find an aspirin to cure the boy? Not the sports car, which the boy doesn't trust him enough with the sports car. And he goes, at least let me take your ambulance. And the boy's like, fine. And it's like, oh, Beverly Cleary.
You got me. And like the aspirin is like riding shotgun. It's so huge. And there's a beautiful part with like Ralph's dad died carrying an aspirin in his mouth because the coating got in. So it's very even more treacherous. Yeah.
Beautiful, but also like unfiltered, terrifying. In the early chapters, he's got all these stories of like mice in his family that died horribly. Like his uncle was like carried off in a wastebasket and then like thrown in the garbage. And I think he says later, I couldn't remember if it was another mouse or that same mouse, his bones were found in an owl pellet.
Yes.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Bones.
His bones
How did they
were
know
found.
it was him?
Like you were saying, Ralph's father, he's fatherless. His father died by putting an aspirin in his cheek and then was poison. I guess not knowing, he thought this was a treasure or something, and he was bringing it back to the mouse hole. And by the time he got there, the aspirin had seeped into his cheek and poisoned his bloodstream.
Wild. And I think this is in a lot of children's books, but I mean, Beverly Cleary is, one of the queens of how again and again and again, it's like, oh, what does life look like when you are a mouse? When you are really small, how do challenges change? And books are, especially for kids, such a great exercise in empathy and understanding perspectives from other people. So I think I keep coming back to this question and doing this podcast. Why mice? Why are mice in like every kid's book? There's a great introduction in my ebook by Kate DiCamillo, who is equally celebrated, amazing, and she did a book called The Tale of Despero, which was very big to my childhood, which is all about a little mouse in a castle trying to save the princess.
It's an easy thing to anthropomorphize, I guess. But they're cute. Like, I had mice as a kid.
Oh.
I had two pet mice. I had Barry and Snowball. One was brown, like Ralph, and one was white. And I would like take them out and play with them and let them like pet. I don't know. It's just like harmless. It's so funny that people are like find rats abhorrent when mice are so very similar. But I also kind of get it.
Yeah.
I'm creeped out by rats.
Well, and it's interesting how, like, with, like, rats, everyone hates them, but with, like, mice, it depends on who you are. Like, Keith likes them, but his mom doesn't, but, like...
Yes, it's true.
The groundskeeper guy is okay with it. And I guess there is something about, like, almost rebellious in liking something your mom doesn't, or seeing it differently. There's a lot you can read into it, but that's something I keep coming back to. Why mice?
Why mice? Yeah. I mean, I think I like what you said about it teaches kids empathy, like this idea that you could be in a POV where you are either literally or figuratively smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's really good for kids. Something that I found super interesting is the class system within the mice. Ooh. Like, there's that moment where they're like, oh, the aunt and uncle live in the bridal suite, and that's like considered high class.
They think they're better than everyone.
They think they're better than everyone. However, only high class for this hotel, because they say in this particular hotel, it's very seldom used. So it's like they're sort of pretenders.
Yes.
And then there's like a rung below that's like, oh, well, my uncle lives in like the housekeeper's quarters, and that's valuable because they drop donut crumbs when they go for their breaks. And then poor Ralph lives on the goddamn second floor. Like, even the carpet on the second floor is like shittier than the carpet on the ground floor. So it's so funny because like I would always think second floor, that's much more desirable. Yeah. But in the world of this book, the ground floor is everything.
Yes. There's just so much thought put into it of like the mice. They're like, oh, a kid is good because a kid will leave crumbs for us to eat. There's a lot of like resource consideration in this, which is just good. It's again like thinking about things that you wouldn't normally in your own little life. Yeah.
Yeah. It gave me a little laugh that Ralph, he sort of understands the boy's plight, but not totally. And he's like, you're feeling sick. Can we still maybe walk down to dinner and get some food for us? Because, like, come on, snappy.
Exactly.
Like, it's really,
he's like,
it's
I'm
really
sorry
funny.
You're feeling bad, but 3 crackers, that's the best you could do?
Yeah. They're like, at one point he's like, this is awkward, but like we're kind of depending on you because like there's a war on mice in the hotel and like we can't come out of the hole. So like if you could get that bacon, that'd be real great. Thanks.
Yeah. And it's Ralph's fault that there is this war on mice because Keith's mom sees Ralph like on the motorcycle and reports it. But I wanted to ask, were you like a motorcycle kid? Was that really drawing to you? I mean, used car lot.
I was not a vroom vroom boy, I'll say. Like, I look at like my little nephew is just like cars, trucks, machines. I don't think I was ever like that. I would like pick up a belt and like think that was interesting. I was like highly imaginative. Like I was kind of a kid who could play with a box, but I was also quite verbal early. So, like, I guess I was sort of interested in stories and like
Yeah.
conversation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like a little 2, 3 year old, and movies. I
Mm.
like, I just got really into like movies and TV shows like right away, and I
Yeah.
would get drawn into that. So it was more that than tactile things.
That was me
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah. But like nowadays, I like a fucking old Mustang as
Yeah.
much as anybody, or like an old Jeep. So
Yeah. There's something interesting about some kids' novels where you've got characters always craving thrills and excitement, and then of course they get it and they don't want it anymore. That's one of my favorite points of any story is you get the goal and it doesn't fix you.
that's like the story circle, man. That's like the Dan Harmon story circle. There's the goddess, and then there's the atonement. The story is not over yet. I'm sorry, I sound insane. I'm working on a show. Haunted Hotel is written with the story circle. It is a Dan Harmon executive produced show.
Um,
So the showrunner is influenced by the story circle. So we think about it all day.
oh no, that makes sense. Oh, I love
Yep.
that.
Yep.
I taped for jury duty like 5 years ago.
You
Yeah.
would have been great in jury duty.
That was like my third or fourth self tape way in 2020. Very, I did not know.
Self tape.
Yeah,
I mean, your plight. Good God. I mean, that's gotta suck. And you used to be able to like go into these offices, and I realized sometimes it was a waste of time. But at least you felt like you were doing something.
exactly. Yeah, and the huge thing, I only ever, Flash was my first job. Didn't know I wanted to be an actor. And then 2020 and the pandemic happened. So I only ever did 2 in person auditions, and they were both for Flatch. I auditioned
Yeah.
for Kelly and then for Beth, the character I got. And that was so wonderful because like when I did Beth, I had no idea like how to read this character. And then you get in the room and they're like, okay, we want really flat affect. I was like, great, I can do that. Super easy. And they can give you direction and you can give like multiple ideas. And now it's like just a godsend if they say like you can send in 2 takes. Like that is the big thing.
Yeah, and you should always kind of make a different choice, because I'll tell
Exactly.
you, I like it. Usually, the way we pick actors is we
Yeah.
put them on the screen in front of the writers' room, and it'll be like sometimes it'll be like, she made a wrong choice, and it's like it's nobody's fault,
Oh.
but like if you didn't like get what we were thinking, which is so unfair, it's like, I don't know, it seems like she can't do it, which is probably not true. It's just there was no one there guiding you.
Exactly. It's the nature of the thing. Yeah, you guys were so sweet and I think recommended me to tape for a role on I guess Night Court. It was like
Oh yeah, that was Night Court. Yeah,
an episode
yeah.
about lobsters or something.
That was a crazy episode. I forget what it was, but I think it was called Past Apps. It was a pun because it was about a guy who had an idea for an
Right.
app. That show is fucking nuts. So
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows like what the plot started as and what it became. It was hilarious, but it was
Yeah.
nuts.
It's not good for me to do this, so I try not to. But at that point, I was like, okay, who did get the role? And it was a woman who was like 20 years older than me. So at
It
that
was
point, I
Paul F.
was like,
Tompkins' wife. I can't remember her name, but she had a relationship with us, and she was pretty good. She was pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing that, I was like very thankful for you guys putting in a word because I was not sort of
Oh.
what that type.
If there's any actors listening to this, if somebody puts you up for a role, or if you're auditioning for a show where you know the writers, before you tape or before you go in,
You're so
ask
right.
them what to do.
Oh, you're
Because
so
we
right.
may have some secret information that's basically like, oh, what they're looking for here is for this person to like blend into the scenery. Or what we're looking for is someone with like a lot of attitude. Please just cheat. Just cheat.
Yeah.
We
Oh my
want you to work.
goodness. It is such a like a minefield because you don't know like I still don't know the etiquette for a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like lately I keep getting my agent being like sending me things and she's just like just lie. Just say you live in New York. Just lie.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
lie. And that feels
I get it. I
bizarre
get
to
it.
me.
I
That's
mean,
the
say you live in New York is not a big lie, because
no.
Can't you appear in New York when you're
Exactly.
required? It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I was in I for some reason I always get self-tapes when I'm traveling. So,
Oh,
and they ask, not all the time, but they ask, "Where are you right now physically?" And so I did a tape where I was like, I'm on vacation, but I get back to LA tomorrow or like
yeah.
in
Always
two
say tomorrow.
days.
Yep.
And
A few
my
hours from now.
exactly. Like I'm in the airport bathroom and my
Right.
agent called me and was like, "Don't ever say that. Always say you're in LA. Always say you're right there on the ground, can show up in 3 hours." Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just
I mean, what if you literally can't? What if you are
exactly.
12 hours away by plane?
Exactly.
I was in Puerto Vallarta with a friend's wedding, and there were two girls there who are actresses, and they were like, I have to do a quick self tape for Home Goods. And I was like, you guys
Yeah.
are fucking troopers. You really are. We appreciate actors and all they have to go through and all the no's they have to hear. And writers have to hear no's a lot too, but probably not as often as actors. So bless you. I believe in you. I
Thank
absolutely
you.
believe in you. We loved you on Flatch. Couldn't get enough of
Thank
you.
you. I always felt so blessed by you guys. There was an episode where I it was like a big Beth episode and I got to dress up as Jamie Presley's character.
I was there. I was in
Yeah.
Wilmington. Yeah, that was, and we were there with Kimmy Gatewood, the director,
Yeah.
who's wonderful, who's an actress herself, so
hmm
she was able to sort of help. Yeah, that turned out pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I was so like, this is such a big vote of confidence. I need to like pay it off and make sure I give you guys a good job.
I
It
know.
was
Oh, I feel bad you
so
were nervous,
fun.
but
No,
you did
I
very
mean
well.
that
You did
was
very
just
well.
I was so worried in the first season there was like a gap between it was like Christmas break or something. There were a couple episodes I wasn't in and I got in my head and I was like, they're gonna kill Beth off. Beth is gonna get hit by a bus. And I was like so certain.
Would have been a little off tone.
A
Would have
little
been a little
off
off
tone.
tone, but
That all worked out in the end. So that was such a treat to hear that right at the top of Writer to Fighter, because that is such a
I'm so
sweet
glad.
show.
So glad. I want to say something about Writer to Fighter if you don't mind.
Yes, yes.
If you're listening to this podcast, you might be thinking, boxing podcast, why might I have any interest whatsoever in that? But I do want to say that this is not your talk podcast. This is a narrative, carefully made audio doc that has quite a bit of emotion, and
Yes.
it's definitely about an underdog, me. And I'm not only like trying to conquer the world of boxing, but I'm trying to sort of understand the problems around me, like
Yeah.
including like my mom who's dying and my relationship and my friendships and
hmm
this sort of like father son thing that's emerging with my coach. So do give it a try. Even if you're not a sporty type, I
Yeah.
think you'll find there's a real story there.
There's a lot of like emotional insight and questioning and soul searching. It's really great. 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Check the show
Thank you.
notes. It'll be there.
Check the show
Check the show
notes.
notes. But I yeah, I still really like want to hone in on this. I think we solved it, but this idea of like you just simply make mouth noises and the motorcycle goes.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So this is the thing at the top of the show. We talked about that I had to like read a couple times. But when Ralph the mouse first finds the toy motorcycle, he's like, how do I start this thing? Oh, stupid me. It's a toy. You can't start this thing. And then he later observes the kid basically go vroom, vroom, like he's
Yeah,
basically going, "Ba, ba, 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 ba,
exactly.
ba." And then Ralph thinks to himself, idiot, that's how you make it go. So then the next time Ralph gets on the motorcycle without the help of the kid, he starts going, "Ba, ba, 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 ba." And in the world of the book, the motorcycle takes off. What's confusing is, of course, that I guess it hasn't really taken off. It's just he believes that it's moving now,
Yeah,
and it's a little. It might. That's why it would be hard to adapt. I
yeah.
think you'd be like, "Huh, what's happening here?"
Exactly. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, it's one of those things where you like pull it back and let it
I thought
go."
that. So
That's what I
I
was
thought
waiting
that
for.
too,
Yeah.
but it's not right.
I don't
Okay,
think
it's not.
so.
I don't think so. Okay.
Yeah, there's I'm looking at the scene right now where it's like that sound of hearing the motorcycle go seemed to satisfy something within Ralph as if he had been waiting
Uh,
all his life to hear it.
it's like sort of a metaphor for like passion, right? Like
Yeah.
things that are exciting in life, like boys like cars. It's just like, whoa, that's something I'm interested in that I
Yeah.
never knew before. Something
Yeah.
awakened in him, I'll say.
Yeah. And I like how she
Yeah.
works through like child logic. The next page, it even had a little license plate, so it would be legal to ride it.
There's a few little clever things that she throws in there. Like,
Yeah.
there's a moment where he's exhausted from like running all over the floor, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, couldn't understand how his ancestor, who ran up the clock, it was like Hickory, his ancestor, Hickory Dock, who had
Yes.
famously run up the clock, could have managed. And it was like,
Exactly.
oh, that's funny. That's like a
Yeah.
reference to a nursery rhyme that she makes real world or in
Exactly.
real in this world.
And that's so satisfying anytime there is something for the kid to go like, "Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
That's a reference I get." That's always so satisfying. I'm looking at that moment where Ralph first does it. It would not be right if it did not run. It would not be fair. And that sounds so
Mm,
kid and so I think like validating again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when he gets in the ambulance to make that go, you of
Yeah.
course have to go woo, woo, woo. That's what makes the ambulance go. It's amazing.
And the whole time he's doing it, I'm like, aren't we supposed to be secretive? Aren't we supposed to be
Yeah, yeah.
hiding?
Don't you want to be fucking quiet? Like you're worried about a dog eating you, and you're going woo. I mean, jeez.
There's even a moment where he's like as loud as his lungs can. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? He's a mouse. Why not? Why
But
not?
what are they? It's like so adults that I guess don't have the imagination to hear his voice are probably just hearing like chirp chirp chirp.
Exactly. There's a moment where they first start talking, and neither the boy nor the mouse was the least bit surprised that each could understand the other. Two
Yes.
creatures, maybe this is it, two creatures who shared a love for motorcycles naturally spoke the
Mm,
same language.
naturally, I remember that too because it's like you got to explain it away, but
Yeah,
do it quickly and do it with confidence. That's writing right there.
exactly.
Explain it quickly and with confidence, and move on.
Move on. Yeah, and that's I think a perfect thing for kids books of like there is a quote logic to it, even if that doesn't
Yeah.
like translate to the real world. You
Yeah.
still are like owed an explanation. I think that's so good.
I always remember when I was writing, well, I rarely do this, but when you write sci-fi in
Hmm.
particular or horror, it's always what are the rules? How can you get to that quickly
Yeah.
and explain that quickly so that you can believe them and move on? And this isn't quite sci-fi, but I appreciate that she establishes the rules.
Yeah, there's a degree of fantasy in it. Yeah. It had never occurred to him that a mouse could be luckier than a boy because Ralph can fit on the motorcycle and can live these
Uh,
adult dreams, and Keith cannot.
you know what's so cute
What?
and great writing, I think.
Hmm.
He has lost the motorcycle and he has to break the news to Keith. Keith comes back with a little helmet that he
Yes!
made out of a half ping pong ball that he and a rubber band, and he puts it on Ralph and it fits perfectly, and it's sort of like, now what did you want to tell me?
Yes! It's so heartbreaking, but also so thoughtful. Like, Keith is
Mm,
consistently so thoughtful. And it also
hmm.
spoke to me a lot of like, Keith is an only child, and so am
Yeah,
I. And so I think there is a lot of like, you have time by yourself. Keith has a whole room by himself,
yeah.
by the
I
way.
know. Well, by the way, that's a bit convenient. If I've ever gone to, when I was an 8 year
Yeah,
old, it was just like get him a cot or like
exactly.
put him in my bed. Yeah,
Exactly. There's
but
like
it's nice
even,
that they
yeah.
bought adjoining rooms. It seems.
Yeah, which yeah, there's a degree of like looking for connection where you can, and there is such a wish fulfillment of like I have a little secret, and the
Yeah.
adventure is real, and I can talk to this mouse. There's a great moment where Keith starts to realize that Ralph needs food, and he goes, "What would you like to eat?" And Ralph was astounded. This was the first time in his life anyone had asked him what he would like to eat.
Hmm.
I think
Which is
that's
also coming of age, by the way.
exactly.
It's like when you develop preferences as a child, that's like a marker, you
Yeah.
know? Your parents make the food and they put it in front of you and they say, eat it or, or you
Yeah.
get punished, you know? And then it's like, oh no, I'm a full person. I can like things and dislike others.
Yeah. Ralph says, "You mean I have a choice?"
Mm,
Yeah. They're
precious.
so much of children's literature, and in my opinion, every human story is about control, and it's
Yeah.
so lacking when you were a child. Again and again and again, that ability to exert some control is huge in these
Yeah.
books.
It's a simple little book, breezy, and my ADD mind was able to process it. That's the
Yeah.
most impressive thing.
Yeah.
That is what makes Beverly Cleary a great writer.
Yeah. What like really surprised you in this visiting it? What made you want to come back to it?
Just that I had fond memories of it, but I hadn't read the words themselves, you
Oh
know, and
yeah.
I didn't know I was going to become a writer
Yeah.
when I was a little kid, you know, reading these books. And it's a bit nostalgic, like remind me of a simpler time. I love a coming of age story. I didn't actually remember that it was a coming of age story.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can sort of blend this and Stuart Little a little bit.
That kept happening to me. 100%. Yeah.
Because doesn't now Stuart Little is like their son, right? And it's like the parents. Because I read Stuart Little as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So aren't the parents able to talk to him? And doesn't he go to school or some
Yeah.
shit?
I think I tried reading the book and couldn't get into it, but I am a huge Gina Davis fan. Always have been.
Ah,
And so are my
okay.
parents. So
League
we
of Their
watched
Own.
that movie again and again and again. And yeah,
Wow.
they go to an orphanage and they're looking at all the other kids and they're like, "We want this mouse. We're gonna adopt this mouse."
They're like,
And he
oh,
has a
he's
little
actually not
car.
available. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has a car. That's why I kept getting confused because he has a car. Okay,
Yes. But there is
so
a
that is
cat in that
close.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a cat in that one.
Okay,
I think in
all
the
right.
house. And there's I liked the thrills of this book. There's a sequence in Stuart Little where he does or almost gets trapped in the washing machine, and that's horrifying. But there are a
Yes.
lot of like you said, there's real danger with the aspirin and the bones. He
Yeah.
ends up in a trash can and he's gonna go in the laundry, and that's
Yeah.
when he loses the motorcycle. That contained and safe adventure is really big, I think, in these books. Yeah.
I guess what surprised me is like the perspective. I guess it really strongly stays in Ralph's perspective.
Yeah.
However, we don't meet his family at all until like page 75.
Yeah. And they're such a huge part of it.
I know. It's interesting. I mean, I guess I don't care. You know, I like sort of like the two-hander of it all until it gets to that. But the mom is super interesting. The mom is like a catastrophizing, like
Yeah.
fretting mom, which is a bit of an archetype, but they keep it specific because
Yeah.
things have happened to her family. She's earned being scared of the world, which is
Exactly.
pretty fun.
When
But
she's
my mom
first,
was like that too, a little
when
bit.
she's first
so.
introduced, it's Ralph's mom was a worrier. That's the quote. And that not only feels really applicable, but like you said, as time passes pretty quickly, she's completely justified. And I think
Yeah.
there's an element too where Cleary introduces it and you're like, oh, maybe my mom has a point. If you want to see that within it.
I think the most devastating thing for a kid is to like prove your parents right. Like the uncle is such an asshole and it's like, he'll never take care of his things. And then he comes back and like loses the thing. And like
Yeah.
Ralph just hangs his head and it's like, I knew you weren't old enough. And I did really remember that feeling of like insisting that I'm responsible enough or brave enough. And then I come home crying and it's like, told ya.
Exactly. Even a moment where Keith says, like, I should have known better than to trust a mouse with my motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that-
Oh, devastating.
The text even says, like, that was the worst thing anyone could have said to him in that moment.
Could be read as like discriminatory or racist, I have to say. By the way, it's like should have known better than to trust a mouse with a motorcycle. Like it's like if you put the right malice on that, it's like, oh, that feels weird.
Yeah, and there's a moment where Ralph really early on is like, not all mice are timid and scared. Some of us are brave.
Hashtag not all mice.
Not all mice. It was odd that they
Yeah,
were
really
eating
good.
bacon. Yeah, to me. That's an animal,
I
guys.
what I kept wondering is how much of the sandwich or how much of the dish is he able to cram in the mouse hole to satiate them? Because
Yeah.
it's a small. I mean, a mouse hole is tiny. Is he like breaking it up into beats and bits and then like cramming it in there,
I
or
think
is it like
so.
literally just like a pinch of a peanut butter sandwich and it's like this is enough for us to eat for a day?
I do think he like breaks it up and then puts a little bit in it, and Ralph like takes it and puts it over here. But
Mm.
yeah, I just kept imagining a whole, not even breaking it up, just like smashing it into the
It remind.
wall.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
That's
just
not how it
oh, I
is.
see. Like just pushing it in almost like a tissue.
Exactly,
Like yeah,
exactly.
which they are tissues in there. They sleep on the shredded
Mm.
Kleenex. I kept thinking when she was like, "Let's store the crackers and eat this other part." I kept thinking of like that series, that TV series Alone, where they're like, "I can smoke the fish and it'll keep for weeks." That's like
Exactly.
sort
They
of
have to
like
start
survival
rationing.
technique. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, when Keith gets sick, there again becomes like a sense of severity almost, and how are we
Yeah,
allocating these
shortage.
resources?
Uh huh.
Yeah. Definitely. They're like we have to stock up because Keith is sick and eventually he will leave, and
Hmm.
he offers to take Ralph with him, which I
Hmm.
was really interested in how they would solve that. And Ralph says, "No, I gotta stay here. My family's here."
Of course, you see it coming that
Yeah.
he gives the motorcycle to Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
What I was craving a little bit. This is a note, Beverly. This
Beverly?
is a note, Beverly. I was kind of craving that Keith was like, "Why don't you take it for one last ride?" And then
Mm.
the family just leaves, like goes home, and then
Oh.
he realizes he's left him the motorcycle. Wouldn't that be just? I'm sorry to give Beverly Cleary a note. Maybe she was worried that like kids would think like, oh, did he just like forget? Or
Yeah.
maybe she thought it wouldn't be clear. But I just thought that would have been like a little more heartstring pulley.
Hmm. But this was only her 21st novel.
Yeah, yeah, I think she knows what she's doing. I mean, and I've never read the others in the series
Mhm.
because it looks
Yes.
like we've got Runaway Ralph and Ralph S. Mouse.
He has a middle initial.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what those are about, if
No.
not motorcycles.
And I like that his mom keeps saying like the when the bellboys come, people leave tips for him, so we need to tip Keith. Uh,
Yes,
I just thought that was
that's crazy.
nice. Yeah.
It is nice. It's sweet. They have to tip him, but it's also like it seems as though a penny will do. I was trying to like think about inflation and like
Yeah.
what a tip would actually be, but they are like tipping with coins, so it's like okay, is it
Hmm.
like 5 cents, twenty
Yeah.
five cents?
Oh man, I loved growing up. My grandparents would like tip with a quarter, and then my dad would have to like rush back in and
And give
leave
him an
actual
actual
money
couple
after
there.
we had
Yeah,
left. Yeah.
I do
Oh
that. I do
man.
that a bit. But I'm a good tipper. I think if you've worked in the restaurant industry,
Yeah.
there's this the truth of tipping is that people are going to tip what they're going to tip. Like I always tip 20 to 25%, always. Like I could get probably absolute dog shit service
Yeah.
and I'm going to tip 25%.
Yeah.
And then there's people who get great service and they're just like I always tip 15%. Like that's just what I tip. So just a word to the wise out there.
No.
If you're a server, just relax cuz you're
Yeah.
going to get what you're going to get.
I thought it was interesting when Ralph was retelling his heroic story. He was leaving things out because he was embarrassed, but I thought like it's heightened danger, man. You could get more oohs and ahs.
My read of that is he didn't want to scare his parents. He didn't want like his
Oh.
parents to be like, "What? You were in that peril?" And like I think he also maybe thinks that if he admits to that peril, they won't let him go down to the ground floor again. I think that was my read of it.
I didn't read that at
Because
all. I
yes,
love
it would
that.
have made a better story that like yes he got temporarily trapped under a glass and then thrown outside
Yes.
like
Yes.
but yeah I kind of like that part that he was that was also that's how you become a storyteller. That's coming of age too, when like honing your stories and deciding what to include, like that's a big part of growing up.
Oh, I love that. And again, it's one of those harrowing moments. He's trapped under the cup, and he's like, I can feel the air getting hotter, and
Yeah,
like
that's
getting short
scary.
of breath. But it makes you be like, oh, I guess if I ever trap a mouse under a cup, it has a ticking clock on it. It makes you think about things.
That
Yeah,
it's good. It teaches kids, like, yeah. I mean, you teach children, like, from a young age, like, gentle, gentle, like, pet
gentle,
the
gentle.
doggy, gentle. So I think it helps with that.
Definitely.
That smart, that clever Cleary.
Ugh, deserves everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a great moment where mom says, I'm proud of you, Ralph. That's all anyone
Mm.
ever wants. And there's a great moment where Matt, the sort of groundskeeper guy, is like, something about, sort of gives it a little dig, a little playful dig at Ralph. And Keith goes, he's not cheeky, and says defend. The verb is defended, Ralph. And I just thought that's nice. It's really nice to have someone go like, no, he's good. You need that.
I like that character of Matt. He like there's always going to be people who sort of like work outside the lines or like
Yeah.
work outside the rules who can be of help
Yeah.
sometimes.
And there's a great moment talking to Keith where Ralph says, you grow a little bit every day. And Keith says, but I never feel myself growing. I thought that was a great like encapsulation of the whole experience.
Yeah.
Keith says, I'll give you the motorcycle, but first you have to ask your mom if it's okay.
Yeah, that was like, and the narrative is like, he returns quickly. His mom
Yes!
said it was fine.
Mom said it was fine!
That must be like, when I used to work in kids TV,
Yeah.
there was a lot of like Disney or Nickelodeon would flag for you, like, well, you don't want you don't want it to be imitable behavior, I think they called it. But it was like basically a kid who does something dangerous. They don't want too much of that without parental input.
Yeah.
So I would guess that something similar existed for books like this. So maybe that was
Yeah.
Beverly Cleary, like, dealing with that.
Yeah, and so many children's authors are parents, and I think
Yeah.
that really helps. Or parents, or teachers, or children's librarians, or all of those things at different time
Yeah.
periods.
You got to keep
Yeah,
these kids in line, You got to make sure that they're always asking their parents.
yeah, and I think a huge part is introducing that little bit of danger and a little safely controlled danger. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that, Ralph loses the motorcycle and Keith is justifiably a little upset and then forgives him. And that forgiveness is beautiful and unconditional and really lovely.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that he didn't hold it over him, because
Yeah.
kids deserve forgiveness and
Exactly.
understanding.
And then
Yes.
it's from one kid to another. I thought was really cool. I was at the park, the playground yesterday. Kids are mean. Kids
Yeah.
are mean
Were they mean to
sometimes.
you, Aaron? What did they say to
No, they
you?
were mean to my little 1.5 year old
Oh.
charge.
Mm,
She wanted to go on the
your ward.
swings. Yes, my little ward. And the girl was like, "No, I want my mommy on the swing with me." And I was like, "Excuse
Oh.
me." And you feel weird
Yeah.
being like to another kid where the parents are somewhere to be like, "That's mean, girl. You can't say that to someone else." It's a weird territory to be in.
Kids are in survival mode at that age. They don't understand that the world exists outside their house and their parents.
Exactly. And how can you be 5 years old and look at this like, child who's 2 feet tall and just like
And be threatened.
and just staring at you with the biggest cheeks and the widest eyes and like yell at her.
We all need to feel bigger than something, I guess. Kids want to feel like my friends' kids. They like they're 4 and 3, and they have like a 1 year old brother, and they're like so sweet to it, and they're like, Henry is so cute, and I want to hold him and stuff. It's like that kid is
Yeah.
barely younger than you,
Yeah.
but they can't wait to dominate something, basically.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like, do you want to go in the big girl chair? Do you want to do a big girl thing? Yeah, immediately. And then you get to be older and you're like, no, stay in that. And
Yeah, I'll give you a clue, kids. Do not be in a rush. Do not be in a
no.
rush.
There's even a line where it's like, it's either about Keith or Ralph. I think probably Ralph, but it's like Ralph is always in a rush, always wants to get to the next thing. You know,
Hmm.
you're that line, you're changing every day, but I don't feel that I'm
Hmm.
changing and growing. Yeah. What a pleasant little book. I'm so
What a
glad I
pleasant little
read it.
book. Yeah, I so enjoyed revisiting it, and makes me want to read some other books that are in that era in my life.
Well, would you consider it required reading?
I was going to come in here and say no.
Mm-hmm.
However, because it's a fun little breezy
Yeah.
read in between. But the more we've talked about it being a coming of age story, that really teaches you lessons about growing up and growing up fast, I'm going to say yes, required
Yeah.
reading, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, required is always a really nebulous term, but I love the idea of a teacher reading it aloud like you had. I think 100% required to be in a children's library. Like every
Hmm.
elementary school should have a copy of this.
Sure,
You
sure.
know, I feel like this is it's good storytelling, it's good pacing,
Hmm.
it's got so much meat in it. I think it's a great
And the fact
book.
that it stood the test of time and is in Skylight Books in 2026,
Oh,
that says something. So, like, you can't take that away from Ms. Cleary.
yeah.
Like, there must be something about it that's sticking.
Yeah, 60 to 70 years on and it's
Yep.
still there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, obviously check out Writer to Fighter. Anything else you would like to plug? Where can people
Hmm.
find you?
I'm at Core American Values on Instagram. Don't worry, it is a joke. You can follow me there. I update a lot about the material, the Writer to Fighter material, from Writer to Fighter, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Listen to us on Spotify, and reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you.
Hell yeah. Well, we've come to the end of the show. I will read the last two sentences. Ralph could wait to ride the motorcycle. It was his to keep. The end.
The end. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. I'll stop it there.